In a lush green forest, a beautiful white pigeon named Feather lived. Every day, she soared through the sky, feeling the wind beneath her wings and enjoying her freedom. But deep inside, she always felt that something was missing. One day, as she was flying over the tree, she saw a blue pigeon sitting on a branch. His feathers shimmered in the sunlight, and his eyes were filled with kindness. Feather, curious, flew closer and said, "Hello, who are you?" The blue pigeon smiled and replied, "I'm Sky." "And you?" "I'm Feather. Do you always stay here?" Sky nodded and said, "I love flying too, just like you, but I've always wished for a place where I truly belong." Feather thought for a moment. She had spent her whole life flying, but she had never considered this before. As days passed, they spent more and more time together. Their hearts grew closer until one day, Feather excitedly said, "Sky, I don't want to fly alone anymore. Let's build a nest together." Sky's eyes sparkled with joy as he replied, "There's nothing I want more." Together they built a nest on the tallest tree in the forest. They carefully placed each twig and leaf, creating a strong and beautiful home. Feather looked at Sky and said, "Now I understand that love is not just a feeling. Love means building, working together, and staying by each other's side." Sky smiled and added, "And if we build together, no wind can ever destroy our nest." And so, Feather and Sky stayed together, creating a life filled with love and effort. They learned that a true home is where hearts find peace together. Feather and Sky had been living happily in their beautiful nest for a long time. They spent their days flying together, enjoying life and cherishing each other. But one day, Feather turned to Sky with excitement and said, "I think it's time for us to grow our family." A few weeks later, Feather laid 3 tiny eggs in their nest. Sky lovingly took care of her, and together they patiently waited for their little ones to arrive. Finally, the eggs cracked one by one, and 3 tiny chicks emerged. Their soft feathers glowed in the sunlight, and their eyes were filled with wonder. Feather smiled and said, "Look, Sky, we are no longer just living for ourselves. Now, we have a responsibility to these little ones." Days passed, and the chicks grew bigger. They learned how to find food, how to stay safe from the wind and rain, and how to take care of themselves. But one thing they had yet to learn was how to fly. One day, Feather opened her wings and said, "It's time for you to learn how to fly." One of the chicks hesitated and said, "But we don't know how. What if we fall?" Sky smiled warmly and said, "If you never try, you'll never know how strong you really are." The chicks were nervous, but they saw their parents standing confidently with their wings wide open. One of them took a deep breath, stepped out of the nest, and for a moment started to fall. Suddenly, the wind embraced him, and his wings lifted him. He was flying. Feather proudly said, "See? Flying is just about feeling scared at first, then trusting yourself." The other 2 chicks, encouraged by their siblings' success, bravely leaped into the sky. Sky watched them with pride and said, "This is life. If you believe in yourself, the sky will always be yours." That day, The chicks learned that growing up takes courage, and if they dared to try, they could soar to great heights.